Hi. So yesterday we had explanation regarding how Spring works, right? Everybody can hear me, right?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, fine. Okay, so what I was telling is yesterday we had explained about how actually Spring works. What is the workflow? How the data gets transferred from one component to another component, and how they interact. Today, I will be showing you a few examples how we can do that. And for course wise, today will be the last session. Tomorrow I'll keep it for you guys to ask questions, or you have any doubt, you did not understand anything, you want to ask anything. And tomorrow it will officially be closed, and we will have the demo sorry, the mock interview kind of something. We'll schedule whenever you will have time, and because I need to give feedback to them. And apart from that, even if you, again, if you have any problem, even if the course is complete, you can always ping me and ask questions, or you can send email. Or we can come on team viewer or somewhere, and I can help you out with anything. Apart from that, whenever you attend for interviews, you approach me, I'll send you a question set. Okay, I'll send you the question set. What are the questions generally they ask for interviews? What are the expectations they have when you face the interviews for Java? I will give you some set of questions what you can prepare for yourself. Obviously, you have the access to video tutorials. You have access to all the codes. You have access to me also. If you want to ask anything, you can drop me an email. I am supporting few people whom I have given the training till they got the job. Still in the job also, sometimes if they have some confusion, they ask me, and I support them over email or something. Okay, so don't feel like, okay, if the session is over, I will not be helping you out. Maybe if you face some problem later, if you need to help in any regarding anything, I mean, be it installation of a software, you're stuck somewhere where you're not able to get any help, right? You can ask me anytime. Okay, so there is no problem with that. Anytime you can ask. So today I will be covering up the practical sessions of Spring. Yesterday I gave too much speech on that. So today let's not give too much speech. Let's do the work, so that you will understand what actually we can do with Spring, and what is the advantages of using the Spring, and in mobile applications and all these worlds. So let get good going. So what actually I want to do is something like that. I want to create one model, apart whatever it is. I just want to store one student object. Okay, so just let me create a class student, and it will have int student id, string name, and I am keeping just only two fields, so that id, and then generated value, just to make it primary key. Then at the rate, this one should be uh, okay. So here I have to put the annotation of Hibernate as entity, and then I can put as a table, then I can put as a name equals to student table, something like this. And the column name here, obviously it will be a student id, so just let me make it as a column. Again, name equal to, make it as a roll number, so let it be roll number. Let this be as a student, simply let it be name. Okay, and yeah, and let me one more field, int age. So again at the rate column, I'll put name equal to age. Okay, I hope everybody agree with this, because this is nothing but the Hibernate what we had covered previously. Let me write the getter setter for this. What is happening to my clips? I don't know. It's 16 GB RAM. This is the condition. It's i7 processor. This is the condition. Okay, so getter setters. Okay, fine. We have the getter setters now, and just let me write the toString as well. Get toString. Get it. That's all. Yeah. Okay, so we are done. What actually I want to do is uh, see what are the things that the main thing, the main component of a string is a controller. The controller is something which handles all these requests. It does processing, it does talk to the model, it does talk to the view and all this stuff, right? So this is something, the controller, right? So I'll just write it one more new controller so that you guys will understand. So I'll write student controller. Now as I told you, to make anything class as a controller so that it will work as a controller, we'll write something like a controller. Okay, so we'll write something like this controller. And what is this? Yeah, so suppose I have a method something like greetings. First let me see whether it is working or not, what actually I want to say. Okay, I just want to do something like string greeting, and it will take your name, string name. Okay, and yeah, so I have a normal method what you are saying here, right? And string message equal to, we'll write hello Mr. or Mrs. whatever, or Miss. So hello Mr. Mrs. or whatever you can put as. So this plus the name you are giving. So whenever you will calling the control, it should return this particular message. Okay, so let me see, just a second. Okay, so as you can see, this is simple class only with annotation at the rate component, and this greeting method is there. Now when this method will get called, and that we need to decide with, there is an annotation called request mapping, and we put the request mapping, and then we say okay, greet, simply we write greet. Okay, and after greet I need to provide this particular name, as you can see here, right? So I will say okay, after greet you provide a variable something like your name. So I'm putting in the bracket, that means I'm telling that okay, after greet you put your name in the bracket. I'm putting, that means it's a variable. And here शालिनी, शालिनी, एक बात जानती हो तुम, घर नजदीक है इधर वाला इसका, लेकिन जनरेटर वो चलाता है पहले उसका, हमेशा मैं देखा हूँ, हमेशा ऊपर जाकर उसका चलाएगा, उसका चला के घूम टहल के आएगा तब इसका चलाता है। देखिए हो तुम ये चीज। बहुत साला चुतियापंती करता है ये। Hello, I think the power has gone, so I think the connection got lost. You can hear me, right?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, sorry, the power was off, so by the time generator would come. Okay, so what actually I was telling that we need to, when do we want to call this particular method, this greeting method is whenever you put a URL, something like greet, okay, and then slash, you put your name. So whatever the name you are giving, it should get passed to the greeting method, and this is how it gets passed. So you write something like path variable. There is annotation what we use it for, and you put the name as something like this. Or if you're putting something like that, your name, then you put here same. What is this? Oof. Seriously don't know what is happening with this Eclipse these days. Why it is taking so much memory? Okay, so this your name, you need to put it here. So that means you are doing the lookup on this particular name. So whatever the variable name you are giving here, do the lookup on that particular name, and the path variable at the rate whatever you're giving, the name you assign it to this one. So this is actually, this will be holding your this particular name. So this is a special type of annotations what we provide. So whatever the path variable you are giving it here, query with the same name here. So if I'm giving here name for simplicity, just make sure you are putting the same name here. And oh my god, what is this happening? I have to restart my Eclipse. It's consuming too much, but still that is fine, right? I don't know, there is some issue. Okay, so name you are giving here, and here you can say something like username, or yeah, whoever is using the you can put as a username, there is no problem, whoever is using, and you can put that username, form a message like something hello Mr. or Mrs. or something, right? And based on that it will return you the message. Now this message can be treated as a REST API. Now I will tell you about the REST API as well. The controller works as the REST API as well. What is the REST API? I'll just Okay, what is the REST API? The REST API is something which works on URL thing. So just controller is somewhat similar to that. So controller and the REST URLs are similar, and it works on URLs. It does not work on anything. Whatever the URL you are passing, it will pass your URL and do the action. It will take the action based on that. So you are telling, okay, name, right? So you're putting the name here, and it is forming this message. It is returning to you, right? So whom it will return? So I'll just write one more thing, response body. So I'll just tell you what actually does this response body. Just let me run this first. Let me run this and show you what actually, how to access this and how it actually it works. So run on server. Perfect. Okay, so it ran properly, and if I try to open this here, localhost MVC project, this one, right? So okay, this is 9090. Okay, so we had given the localhost 9090, and this is my base URL. Okay, so whatever the URL you are putting here, the student URL, what I'm a student controller, right? This URL will come after the base URL. So this is always be there. I mean, the till hibernate, this is your project name, this is where your this is your IP address. So currently it's localhost because I'm running in the same machine. So this should be your IP address. This should be the port on which port it is running, followed by your project name, and then followed by the REST API or the URL what you are giving. So I'm giving greet, right? So I'll put here greet, then slash, that is hyphen. I should give a name, anything, any name. So I'll just give like a Divakar, and I will hit enter. You will see that I'm getting a response as hello Mr. or Mrs. or Miss, whatever, because they don't know what the sex, right? So the name as a Divakar. So it is forming the message and sending me back the response here. So actually this is what you are saying is really very useful, and you must learn if you want to work in Java and if you want to survive in Java field, because this is the what I would say the future, this is the present, and it's widely used everywhere. Just there is one little reason behind that. Why actually, I'll tell you why actually this URL based things are working. The thing is, these days, if I'm not wrong, every company comes with a website plus one app, if I'm not wrong, right? So you would be seeing that people are trying to whenever you see any website, please download our app on Google Store or App Store or Windows Store, right? Do you see that everywhere, wherever, whatever website, be it Amazon or be it your what I say, there are many ticket booking, these things are there, right? So everywhere you might be seeing that one website comes with app as well. Now what actually happens is, suppose you are writing you are developing one application. Now the previously how it used to be, I'm telling you the importance of URL based accessibility, your URL based this one. So this is my application. Okay, the web application I'm talking about. Okay, this is my web app website, and I have my MySQL DB somewhere, and I have written all the codes here to get the data from MySQL to do all the operations, and you can access it from the browser. That is so far so good, everything is fine. So suppose you are doing an online shop, you visited the Amazon website, and you are trying to buy something, you add some product in the cart, and you have bought that, and the order details has gone into your DB, that okay, this particular user has ordered this particular item, and all this stuff is saved in your this one. Now what you did is, the login credentials what you have used in your website, okay, what you did is, after that, after ordering the item, what you did, oh my god, लाइट गया कि आया है? I'm sorry, there is a fluctuation happening here at generator is switching off, switching on. So there is a power off is happening. I don't know. What actually I was telling that you have ordered something from your web application. You visited website and you have ordered an item. Suppose a phone you have ordered, Nokia phone or Apple phone or something you have ordered, and the order details and everything in your MySQL database, and the logic to retrieve those data is in your web app. And anytime you can go again and log in into your web browser, through your web browser to the Amazon website. You can see your order details from here. After that, certain after 2 days you found out that okay, there is a website. Okay, there is a website, sorry, there is an app for Amazon as well. So what you did, you downloaded the app. Okay, and after downloading, yeah, so after downloading, what you do is you log in into the Amazon, this one, using login credentials. You logged in and you are seeing the orders. You click on the orders, you're seeing the same orders through your app also. Okay, now what is the disadvantage you see, that if you create one app, you create one web browser applications as well as the app, right? So this is something like, if I am not wrong, the Android app, iOS, sorry, for Apple iOS you need to develop, for Windows you need to develop in Windows platform, for what do I say, Android you need to do in Android, right? So these are the different technologies to connect to the DB. They have the different so what actually this will do, so iOS will connect to the DB again, fetch the data and show you again. Windows will connect to the DB and show you again. Your Android will connect to the DB and show you. Your web browser will connect to the DB and show you the same record. It is showing in all the app, all the web browsers, right? So what do you think here, the disadvantage? What is the problem? What do you see the problem here? Do you see any problem here? What is the problem happening here? Or you don't see any problem? It's perfectly fine. We have a 1 DB. All these app are accessing to those database and fetching the data from the MySQL, and it is showing into their UI perfectly fine. Do you see any kind of problem here? It's okay if you don't see there is problem, but tell me yes or no.
No.
You don't see any problem, but there is a big problem. What problem is, see, so the web browser, your web application, maybe suppose it's a JSP servlet, plain JSP servlet, and this iOS is written in Objective-C, Windows is written in C++, Android is written in Java. Now to connect to the DB, iOS has their own mechanism to connect. If I am not wrong, Windows will have their own ways to connect to DB. Your Android will have another way to connect to the DB, and your web application, this will have their separate DB. Now, how many connection query, how many type of connection query you are writing here? 1, 2, 3, and 4. There are 4 types of coding you need to do to connect to the DB, right? So you're writing the same connection query to connect to the DB, number one. After connecting, you get the data from the DB by writing all the queries in all the app. So in iOS you are writing, okay, select the orders from this where username is this, select order from this where username is this. In Windows, select this. In Android, select this in this, right? Same query you are iterating everywhere. Okay, third thing, you need to spend time in writing all these code in all these applications. Fourth thing, you need to do all these testings whether the MySQL queries are working or not. Fifth thing, you need to format these data in what format you need to display to the user, right? This is just only 5. I can tell you 500 problems what it can lead to. Okay, so what is the problem here? I think you will know now. The no more number of applications you're writing, you're repeating the same code to connect to the DB. Am I right? Am I right? So for getting the data, for getting the orders, this guy also connecting to the DB, connect to the DB, get the DB result set, parse it, get it. This also is writing their own code to connect to the DB. They need to manage the credentials. So vulnerability is becoming more and more, and all this problem. What is the solution to this? The solution is something like the REST API, what we call the REST controller, or the URL based resources. What do? You do something like, this is your MySQL. Now you will see the magic of this. There is a MySQL here, and you have your Spring application here with controller. We call this as a REST API also. It works as a REST API also. I'll tell you about what is this name. So just think like REST Spring controller is here, which works like something slash get orders slash by username. So you pass username, it will give you the order details, and it connects to the DB, and here all the logics are written here. Select orders from this particular table and all this. And it can have other controllers as well. It can have like get addresses, get past history orders, cancel items, on all these things. And they have written their own logic, and all these codes are written in, suppose in Spring. Your Spring application is here, and all these controllers you have written here. Now just keep a layer here. So you have deployed it on some server like suppose myshop.com. On this host you have hosted this application here. Okay, and this provides you all these API based things. So you say, okay, get items. You simply say myshop.com slash get items and put username as a Divakar. What it will do, it will go and fetch the data from MySQL. It will give it to whoever is requesting. Now I have iOS, I have Windows, I have Android, I have web app, I have some another web app as well, I have some other advertisement web app as well. Many web app I have. Now this works through a browser. As you can see here, I have just now shown you here. How do you get the data? The data, to get the data, you only need to access to that particular URL. So there's a very minimal API you need to write. That HTTP request you need to send from here. Just 2 lines of code, 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 just 2 lines of code. Now iOS, I downloaded the iOS app of my shop. I logged in and I say, okay, get me all the orders. This will create www.com myshop.com slash get orders slash username. Send this request to this fellow. This is get it from DB and send back to the result. This also will do the same thing. This also will do the same thing. Now imagine the coding which has been reduced, the effort which has been reduced, the manageability, the reusability, the scalability, the portability, the whatever the terminology you can use, This is the benefit of using the REST API. This is the benefit of using REST control or the controller based URL based resources. This is called the URL based resources. Okay, so you send a URL, it will send you the response. That's what it does. So you send a request, it will send you the response.
How can REST API understand which iOS or Windows is that?
It does not understand. It doesn't need to understand. The REST API works on HTTP request. Okay, so your iOS will send a HTTP request just similar to your browser sends. As I told you, right, whatever the request you are typing in browser, you are sending a HTTP request to the server. So from browser also, from your app also, right, iOS app, it will send one HTTP request, it will send something like it will have their own libraries where you can say, okay, HTTP request request equals to new HTTP request, HTTP request dot set URL, set this particular URL into that and invoke and get the response. Same thing it will do here also. So the REST API, this Spring, right, it doesn't have to know about whether it's iOS. It doesn't care at all, because it works on URL, and you are sending a URL request through the common platform which is called the HTTP, that is Hypertext Transfer Protocol, and it is using the HTTP. So REST API is a HTTP protocol based API. Okay, so you need to create the REST API. You can create it and you can send it through that. So browser is a kind of REST API, REST API client, you can say HTTP client, from where you send the HTTP request, you get the HTTP response. Same thing you can create in your code, iOS or Windows. Just write a utility method that, okay, send a HTTP request to this particular URL, and it will send it to you, and it will give you the response. Is it clear? You understood, Sweta, right? No?
Yes.
So see, the HTTP request is a standard common format, and if you really want to see how actually it looks like the HTTP request, just hold on for a second, I'll show you everything. When you send a request, put Control-Shift-I in your Google Chrome, okay, and click on this network tab, okay, and network tab and the resources, you will see there are many things in the network tab and resources. Just and let me hit again. So if I hit it again, see, if I hit it again, you will see this Divakar request is going, and if I click on this particular Divakar, this is what the request URL is: HTTP localhost 9090 Spring web MVC greet Divakar. Okay, so the request what I have sent, okay, so if you see the here is that. So this is actually what it goes. Let me hover this one, focus on this particular thing. So HTTP request is a standard format, standard structure, what every HTTP client, whether every browser, whether it's a Safari, whether it's Google Chrome, or what I say, I don't know, Internet Explorer or anything, right? They have to send HTTP request in this particular format only. So if you see view source, if you go to the view source, this is what actually it looks like. So this is your actual data what you are sending to the server. So you are sending, okay, get, you are saying that it's a type of get request, because yeah, I have seen if I haven't defined the request method type, I want to throw this Eclipse. I really don't know what is happening to this. Request method type, it's by default is get. So I'll tell you later. So we are saying that, okay, get, and you are saying that, okay, get Spring Hibernate, that, okay, I'm going to this project and check whether this greet/Divakar exists or not. So it will say that, okay, greet is there, and this Divakar is that there is nothing like Divakar, but I am saying that we are expecting something like a variable here. So they are thinking that, okay, that means they are sending the name here, the variable, and this is the protocol name, the HTTP protocol 1.1, and the host what I am saying is here, the host is localhost because it's running in my own system. Suppose it is running on google.com, it will write www.google.com 9090. Okay, this is the port on which the connection keep alive. Don't worry about all this stuff, so these things are like which web browser you are using, the Mozilla Firefox or the Google Chrome or the Safari. What are the user agents which can be invoke that particular thing? What is the data type it can accept? It can accept HTML, text, XML, image, all these things it can accept. So there are few things which gets the request with that. Now if you see, come to the response, you will see that response has only this thing: hello Mr. Divakar, right? So this is what the response is coming. And if you really want to see the response header, how the response has come, you will see that it is telling response as HTTP 1200. Okay, so This is really a very famous response in I think there are many people who wears t-shirt of that 200. Okay, everything is gonna be 200. Okay, it's something like the green code status code. It replied you with status code at 200. Okay, it is telling you that, okay, I mean, I have, got the data. I have not got the data, at least I have got the response from the server. So this is the format. That content type is HTML, text HTML, and this is your response what you have got. Okay, so this is the overall picture. So once you hit enter, if you see, if you put here and hit enter, so the request what it goes is, the data what it goes is to the server is something like this. So your Tomcat container, your web application container parsed this particular thing. It passed this. Okay, what type of request is there? Get. Okay, get is there, that is fine. Which application do you want to get it? Okay, Spring Hibernate, that is fine. What URL you want to access? This particular URL, and it will take the action. It'll do all this stuff. It'll send you the response, HTTP response, and that response get passed here, and it gets displayed in your web browser. How is it? Too much? Understood, right?
Yes.
Okay, so even it will tell you how much time it has taken. There are many things what you can do, sources, timeline, how you are sending the request, what response you are getting, profiling. There are many things you can do from here. But see, the REST client, there are many types of REST client in market. You can download Google Chrome's extension. There is a called the Postman. So Postman is a kind of REST client. There are many REST clients in the market, and in this one, right, they will ask you, okay, what kind of URL you want to access. I'll say, okay, this URL. What kind of the post get, what kind of, I'll say, okay, get. Okay, and I will send. So if I send it, you will see the response you am getting, like a hello Mr. or Miss whatever the Divakar, right? I want to do that. Okay, so this is how you can invoke through your REST client. In fact, you can write your own REST client. I'll just, I don't remember the code how to write the REST client. So you can simply search REST. You need to search something like HTTP REST client in Java. You can search for other things as well. So yeah, this RESTful Java client, you will see that it's a very simple to use, but this is not you. They are using some hi-fi API. Anyways, I think we can use it. We can go ahead and use it. But I think, yeah, Apache RESTful client. Yeah, I think we should use this one. So what you were asking, Sweta, right? I'm just trying to give you the idea of that. I mean, how one app like Android or something, right? How they can get the access to that. So yes, I think this is the what I'm looking for. T port, and then then request to. But for this also we need REST API. I think, yeah. So it's better that I'll go for this particular thing, and yeah. So we'll just simply copy paste this code, this particular public static void main, and just let me try here. What I will do is I'll write one. Man, what is happening to my Eclipse? I don't know. Okay, new package com dot main app, and just write one public static void main here. So I'll write a class HTTP client post, something like that, and we'll just copy paste this particular code. We generally don't use it because we all use the HTTP header and client. So is there that? No, it's not there. So I need to add this particular dependency in. So yeah, I need to add this particular dependency in POM. So I need this jar to make the client. So we'll add this particular in pom.xml. So yeah, I'll just go ahead and add this, and then to get the, I think, yeah, this is the get request. So this is how we send the get request. I'll explain you this code, and nobody, because I don't remember the syntax, because I generally I never used it like this. Okay, because I am not in app development. From web browser, you simply request the URL and you'll get the data and parse it. So I'm not much into this creating the client and working on it. Okay, so I think just let me clean it. Okay, Control Shift O. So let it build. Okay, perfect. I think everything seems fine here. And what I need to do is, I'll just save it. What I need to do is, I need to just change this URL, whatever the URL I had given. So just let me copy this particular URL. And in Eclipse, you are writing like a HTTP default client, and HTTP get request equals to get. And here the URL would be something like this. Okay, so I'm saying, okay, get me this particular data. And I think this is except just disconnected. There is no need of that, because now we are sending the normal string. And then just a second, I don't know what is happening to. Okay, then HTTP response. So this is what you are doing, you are creating the request, right? So this HTTP get request you are creating. And then you are saying that, okay, HTTP client dot execute, and that particular this request you execute it, it'll send the HTTP response. And then you check that, okay, status code is equal to 200. If it is not, throw an exception that, okay, status code is not 200 because something is the problem. And then otherwise you get the buffer reader and get the response entity and print the data from here. So just let me go ahead and first run my application, so that our server is okay. And then you can, I really don't know what is happening. It's a very big problem with this. I don't know, there is some issue with my clips, keep behaving abnormally. I don't know why, for no reason. If you want to work in Java, you need to learn all these techniques. You need to clean delete all this stuff you need to keep doing, because it's really big headache. Even if your code is correct, most of the time you will see that you are getting some exception that this file is not present though the file is present. So these kind of situations will keep on coming. I don't know where still this problem is coming. Okay, it's really irritating. I don't know, some issue with this. I don't know, maybe some configurations. See, the same thing is working now. It's really very irritating, so don't go with it. Anyways, our server is up, and the local host this one, then greet slash Divakar. If I do from browser, I'm getting the response. Now, what Sweta, you had asked, right? How we can clone. So suppose this main app is your something you are writing one app in any Java file. You can write it anywhere. Not necessary that it has to be in the same project. You can write one other project, and you can get the jar, and you can call from there. So now if you run it from here as a Java application, your server is running. If you're connecting to the server, as you can see, okay, there is some problem. Connection refused 99. Okay, what is the connection refused? Timed out. So what address I had given? Localhost 9090 Spring, greet Divakar. So let me just see that application JSON. No? Text. Let it be text. There is some net connection. Why? Okay, maybe yeah, I got to know. The problem is sometimes what is happening, right? As my this laptop is given by company, and it's firewalled. There are many firewall is set up. So what actually happens is when your client tries to access that, it needs to go through the firewall. This client, right? It creates a TCP connection, and then over HTTP connection, and then it tries to connect to the server, the local host server, and we need to bypass that particular firewall. But if you try in your, I'll send this code, but if you try in your system, it will definitely work, because the connection what it is getting, right, it's getting refused because of that particular reason. So if you try in your system, it will definitely work. Okay, so I'll send you this particular code. I can't show you unfortunately from here, because I don't have the uh, privileges to edit the firewall. I don't have the access, so I cannot show you. But yeah, it will do the same thing as HTTP request. It will send, it'll get the response in this particular HTTP response. It will check for whether it's 200 or not. It will get the data by reading the response entity got dot get content, and you can put something like output from the server. What this is what you have got. So you can do this from writing a separate application in separate project. You just need to add one jar, and that jar name is here in libraries. If you go in Maven, you will see that HTTP client and HTTP core. So you can download this particular two jars, and you can uh, write this application into some other Java project, run that Java project, and let your server keep running. It should connect to it, it should fetch the data from it, and it should show you. It is something similar to this. So just assume that this Postman is nothing but an HTTP client, which I am sending the request and getting the response. You might be wondering how come this is working and my application is not working. The reason behind this is they are these applications, when we install it, right, it bypasses those firewalls, because internally they do while installing. So that's how I'm able to use it from here. But the best thing is you can test it by using the web browser. So this is the best way to test the APIs. Is that fine, right? I'll send you that particular code. You can get it anywhere. It's generally get used there, right? So the what thing is it's not like you can only return a string. There are different types of data what you can return. You can return XML data, you can return text, you can return image, you can return a file, you can return a JSON format. If you know, do you guys know about JSON? What is JSON? JSON notation, okay. So if you don't know about JSON, JSON is a formatting of a data. Just XML, you guys know? Anybody know XML?
No.
Okay, others, I really don't get answers from you guys whether you know XML or not. If you know XML, it will be easy for me to explain JSON. Okay, so XML, see, what actually happens is when you communicate with one application to another application, okay, you ask them, okay, you send me the data in a particular format, don't send me in another format where I need to I need to get difficulties where while formatting the data. So it's something like you are putting a contract that, okay, if I need to send the student details, I would be a student, I will be sending something like ID first, and then I'll say name, and then I will say age. Okay, then again I will say, okay, ID, then again name, then age. So this is a kind of, I would say, the XML notation. So it has a root node, then they have the child nodes, then again root node, then the child node, and the parent root node will be something like the student details or something like that. Okay, so they have one enclosing the opening tag and ending tag. So it's something like this slash this particular thing. So this format is called the XML format. This is called the XML format. And generally many applications send data across each other in XML format, and it's a common format, it's a standard format. So we have some Java APIs or other APIs to parse the data, and we know that, okay, there should be one parent node, there should be some child node, we need to get the data, right? So beforehand we know the format, and we can apply our logic to parse those data from that particular XML. So now XML is going to obsolete, almost obsolete. There are very less places which is it is getting used. It is getting only used for the configuration things. Okay, now it's no more getting used for data transfer from one API to another API. Suppose there is one app and one another app, and both communicates to each other and say, okay, hey, get me the student data, right? It will send you the XML. And the problem with the XML is the parsing is very, very lengthy and very time consuming, very resource consuming. So they had come up with a different kind of formatting of data, which is called the JSON. And it what I would say, stands for JavaScript Object Notation. And it's something like, suppose you have a list of employees, and you need to send from this application to another application, and JSON keeps value is key value pair. Okay, so see, so you need a list of employees, so you say, okay, key as a employees, okay, and value as a array. So this bracket starts here and ends here, so that means this is the array, and inside that you will see that it will have a key value pair. So it's at the first name as John, last name Doe, first name Anna, last name Smith, first name Peter, last name Jones. So they have the key value pair, and once you send this particular JSON data to another one, what they need to do is they will say, okay, employee dot employee, and they will iterate on that first name, last name, first name, last name, first name, last name. So it becomes very easy for navigation, and it does not require big parsing logic. And that is the reason the JSON is becoming very very famous these days, and almost every application uses the JSON format only. So I'll just give you one example of this, how JSON format will look like in our application. If you see here, just forget about the client, and in student, if you have seen here, I have a student class, right? A student ID, student name, student age. I have three details, right? I want to send these three details to whenever the someone requests, right? I want that to get into the JSON format. So what I will be doing here is in controller, right? In a student controller, I'll write one more controller. Okay, so I want to get the student details. Suppose I will hard code one value just like that, just to show you guys. So public and student get student data in JSON. I'll just writing so that it will be useful, and I'll not take any input from this. And at the rate request mapping is equals to method equal to request map request method dot get. So type of this should be get, and value equal to what URL. So I'll write something like get student. So I'll say get a student, it should return me the student. So what I'm going to do is I'll write one thing, a student std equal to new student. Okay, I'll set the details. So set id as a 1, std dot set name as, I'll put the Walker, and then std dot set age as 25. I have an object, but I am telling, I am promising you that okay, I need to get into the JSON format. So I'll simply return this student, but there is a logic here. I'll tell you. Once I return here, okay, I need to put one thing which do the parsing. I'll simply say response body. So if I say the response body, what actually it will do is the Spring will automatically will convert this object into the JSON format. I'll send you whenever you do the get a student. Okay, so just let me refresh it. I think it is already doing all this compilation, all this stuff. So if I think refresh it, it should get going. So yeah, this is working. After that I'll do get student, and now see the magic here. So if I'm doing this get student, it is sending me something data like this. Just let me copy this, go to the JSON lint where you can format this particular data. Yeah, so it has a opening parenthesis, and then the key as a student ID, value as 1, key as name, value as Divakar, key as age, value as 25. So instead of writing some format something like this, student ID, then again slash student ID, then you put a value in between this. This is the XML format I'm telling you. Okay, and similarly you will have a name slash name, and it keeps on going. And the problem with this is so yeah, this is how the XML notation will look like. The problem with XML, once it becomes very large, right, keep track of node and the child node sub node becomes very tedious. But in case of JSON, it will have array. You can simply, just like an array you iterate, you can keep iterating on the array, and you can get the value in a key format, key value based format, and it becomes very easy to get the data and parse it. You might be wondering why this notation is so famous. The reason is these data you want to display in UI, and UI means the JavaScript works with this very well, because the name itself is telling you that the name itself is JavaScript object notation, and JavaScript works on this. JavaScript only need to do that data.stdid, it will get this, data.name, it will get this, data.age, it will get this. So it doesn't require, it doesn't need to parse anything, and it becomes very easy for UI guys, the UI developers, whoever works in front end, right, UI side. They simply get this data, and only just by putting dot 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 they can get the values. So have you understood this JSON format?
Yeah.
Okay, so you need to give a little bit time about this, what actually uses is, because initially when I learned, even I did not understand the application, but it's really very important. And if you get to work in UI side or something, right, you will understand the importance of this. But from a Spring perspective, you only need to know that okay, you can send data in JSON format, you can send data in string format, you can send data in XML format, you can send data in image or as a file. There are many types in which you can send the data, and that's how it works. The Spring works on URL. Now as you can see here, right, so if you write some web page or where you need to get the data, right, you can simply call this URL. If you want the student details, you can call it. If you want to get the student values, you can call this particular URL, and now you can get that data from anywhere. So even from the HTTP client you can get it, from the browser you can get it, and that's what it gives you, that neutral location from where you can get it. So only you are writing one method to get a student here. This can be used by your Windows app, your Android app, your web app, anywhere, right? So did you get that? Okay, fine. So the last point what I want to cover, that how actually the the hibernate gets interacted, how actually the overall flows, what I am covering here is, so what if I run this particular applications, as you have seen that, uh, so localhost, I'm doing this, I'm getting this index page, right? And I'm putting this username and password, and I'm clicking on the login. So if I'm clicking on the login, you would be seeing that, okay, slash login URL I'm calling in. Am I right? And the values what I will be passing is the username and the password. So these two details I will be passing it to which URL? To slash login. So if you go to the slash login here in the controller, login controller, there is a slash login URL here. So I'm calling that slash login URL, as you can see here also, with this username and the password, and it comes here. Okay, and let me open the JSP page as well. Index.jsp. So in index.jsp, if you say form group, and the form name, we are giving form, and the name is login info form, action equal to login, method equal to post, and it has username. I think you guys must be aware of all these things, right? Username and the password, and then you click on submit. Once you click on submit, it calls this it's calls this URL slash login, and with post, and the data what actually you are sending is username and the password. What is the name of these variables? Username and the password, right? These two. What is your form name? Your form name is login info. So this, with this you are going to the URL, this one, your login URL. So your login URL will be called here. The method, request method is post. So this method will be called login, and here you will be seeing that I am using the login info form. This login info form is nothing but the form name what I am giving here. So I'm telling that this login info form will have two fields, username and the password. Get these two fields by giving the form name here. So here I'm only putting the model attribute at the rate model attribute. What it will do is, you provide the form name. So what it will do, it will go there and it will find the field name. It is saying, okay, there is a username and there is a password. There are two fields here, and I'm telling that get the data and put, there is an object of user. So if you go to user class, I have created one user class, and user class has username and the password. There are two fields user has set, exactly similar, exactly same uppercase lowercase formation everything as this particular thing. So username and password, it must match with your class attribute. So username and password of user. So in controller I'm telling you get the data from login info form and parse these two data and put into the user object. So your user object is getting, keeping the data of your user credentials, whatever you are sending here. So you are sending ABC or ABC or 123, that is coming here in the user object. And if you do user dot get username or get password, you'll get it from here, and that's how it has been initialized here. So by using the form name only, it gets all these data. Second thing, I'm injecting the HTTP session object just to take care of the session. Just you have seen that in your JSP servlet as well. So that's how it works it. And then I am doing these validations. I think you all aware of all these things. We'll get the data from a database, and we'll do the validations whether it is matching or not. And if it is matching, then I am telling that, okay, put into the session.set attribute. I think this also you guys you might be knowing, session.set attribute, setting the user info. And then model view, I'm creating the object. I'm saying that, okay, navigate to the home.jsp page, navigate to the home.jsp page. Okay, and keep your data with that. You keep the list of persons, all this stuff. If you want, you can send these data. This is not necessary. Just focus on this, that it will navigate to the home.jsp page. So if I put it here, admin, so it will go to the it will log in. And if you can see here, after login, right, it has reached to the home.jsp page, and it is showing that welcome admin, right? So it is navigating to the home.jsp page, and there if you go to the home.jsp page, here I am showing these pages, that okay, the username, the fields, and all these data, right? So if there you can add new employee, you can do all this stuff, like okay, you can see the country and all this, whatever the things you want to do in the home page. Okay, so this is actually how the flow works. Again, you click on some link, it will go to the some other url, and it keeps on working on the same url only. And the model view object what you are creating, you need to put the page name in that particular thing only. So if you want to navigate to some other page, so in this case, suppose here, if the username password is failing, if it is not matching with your db, it is going back to the index page. So I'm again creating the model and view object, and I'm putting into the index. This model and view object is nothing but the springs class. If you see here, it's a springs class. That's why it is saying that no attachment. So it's a type of springs class only, this model view class. If you can see here, model view, it is defined in org spring web servlet. Okay, so it's defined in this particular thing, and you need not to worry that how it is handling. You only need to pass the page name and it will navigate to it. Okay, and other than that, the DAO and other things, it works similar to that. Person DAO, if you see, add person, it will call the implementation. It'll go and get the session, just like get session factory, persist or save, get the data, update data. All these things are just similar to that. Only your front end controller thing is controlling everything. That is the difference between JSP servlet and the Spring. Okay, there's no other big difference what you will be observing. If you go through the code, if you try to run it, if you try to change something, right, and that's how you will get it. So same thing, like in login controller, when you got the username and password, you try to get it from the user. So I'm using this service, and I'm saying okay, get me the username password. So get declarations, and it is calling the DAO, if you are seeing, right? So it is passing this user id, and it is calling this get user, and ultimately your get user is doing nothing but creating a hibernate session factory, and it is finding out from the user that particular session factory from the db, and it is saying that okay, user loaded successfully, and it is sending back to the user, and then you are matching it with that. Okay, so it's a completely exactly same, I would say, whatever the DAO thing we did in past in Hibernate. So I will not explain you the same thing again. I will not waste time in that. If you have any problem, I will suggest you to go through this code. It's already there in your in my GitHub repository. You can clone it, run it. See, just do not go through the code just blindly. If you run it, then you will see the problem. Then you will change the code. Then only you will understand the flow. Do some additions, so do some removal of the code. See what actually happens, and try to understand if there is still some problem. You can always ask me that why it is this, why it is not like that, why it is working. Because I understand that you might not be asking questions this time, but if you run it, there will be 1,000 questions will start coming in your mind, that oh, why this, why that. Right now I'm showing you everything is working fine, everything is happening like this, so you will be okay, fine, this is how it works. But trust me, for running one hello world in Spring, it took me around 4 days. So after 4 days I was able to run it perfectly with all these configurations, XML and all this stuff, right? So there's many configuration issues which keeps on coming. Even if your code is perfectly fine, if you run it, you might get some exception because of server does some caching. They keep there some data. So whatever the project you are running, right, this get copied to in their server locatory. If you see here, the compiled code, it gets to the Tomcat directory, and the Tomcat keeps caching. So even if you're doing clean or making some changes, some data gets corrupted, and you might think that okay, your code has some problem, but your code might not have some problem. So you do sometimes remove this, do cleanup of Tomcat directory, do clean up your project, run it again, and do all this stuff. This is very helpful in real-time applications when you will be developing. Okay, so in Spring, there is nothing much apart from, yeah, there is many things, but I will not be covering so many things, because for basic, for starting things, for learning, I think it's more than enough what we had covered, and that's how end to end it works. Other than that, you can always go through these codes, how it works and all these things which are there, how we have done the connection. And trust me, whatever the what application this I have created, you can, whenever you go to any project, you can match this the coding, not coding, I would say, the formatting, the packaging, how the package should be, how the code should be written, how the modularity, how you should model the code. You will find everywhere exactly similar than this. I mean, exactly similar to this. This is how the real-time applications, in real-time projects, they will have the common data in this. Controller will have, they have DAO separate, they will model separate, they will have REST API, who are just to serve the REST API. They can get the REST API like this. Okay, you can do all these operations using REST API. There are services. If you want to write main app, you can do all these properties file. You can put in src main resources. You can put some xml file if you want. You can put into this web inf directory inside classes. You will see that jdbc database I have put into the properties file instead of hibernate configurations file. So you can read this particular file. I have read it, all these things in that. You will see, if you want to configure the mail things, you can put this smtp host like gmail. From gmail you can send the mail to anybody. If you want to configure that, these codes are already written in this. I'm not going to explain you all these things. Just go through that. You will understand that how it works. The mail sender, I have written all this stuff. So you can send the mail to a registered user whenever a user registers, right? So whenever they register, you can send all the mail to that particular register, that okay, you have been registered, here is your username and password once they create the username. So all this stuff, how the modularization happens, how the code interaction happens, it becomes very easy to find out, okay, there is some problem with controller, let's go into the controller package. So try learning the way, this is the what I would say, the real time project packaging kind of structure, which really helps you to debug things quickly. Yeah, that's all. So there are few random topics what I want to tell you for uh, maybe interview purpose, or maybe just for extra knowledge. There is some topic what we call a design pattern. If you really want to be a developer in Java or something, right, you should be knowing about design pattern. And design pattern has nothing to do with programming language. The design pattern is something like how to write a code, how to design your classes, how to put one class's object into another classes, how to write methods, how to do the extension, how to do interfacing and all these things, right? So it deals with many type of the architectures. If you want to learn about this, I would suggest you to go through this tutorials point design pattern, and you will see there are very famous design patterns are there. And what is the uses of that? If you see just a singleton design pattern, suppose you want to create a class where you don't want user to let create more than one object. I'll just explain you this one, is because it's very simple. I just give you the idea that what actually the design pattern is. So I'm creating a class as a student store, okay? And what I want is, I want that no user can create more than one object of this. Whenever they need to get the object, they should get always the same object. And I have something like a array list of, I'll just create a student also, and in student obviously I will have a string name and string uh, interval, just two field. Okay, and so in this one I'll create one array list. So I have one list of array list, and what I will do is I'll write one method as a public add public void add user. I just want to make a storage of a student, and it'll take the student object and it will do nothing but it will add into list of student dot add, and whatever the student you are passing it, it'll just simply add it and it will say student added. Okay, and similarly you can have remove and int index. So what a student you want to remove, so you can simply say dot remove, and whatever the index you want to provide you can just simply provide it, and you can say okay removed. Okay, okay, so so remove add we have done, and just last one we'll write something like a public get public list of, so we will return the students list, we know whenever we get that. So get student list, and we'll simply return the list of students. Okay, so we have one student store. Okay, and the student store will have only one array list which will be capable of holding the number of multiple students, and we have add, we have remove, and we have get the student list. Now what actually I will be doing is from here I can create a student store object std store equal to new student store. Okay, and I can call student store, sorry this should be in main method. So a student store and then student store dot add, I'm telling okay add new student, so just let me create a student. So student s1 equal to new student, and then s1 dot name Divakar, and then s1 dot roll equal to 1. Okay, and I will add this particular s1 to this one. Okay, and then if I say okay get the list of a student, right, so I need to get this in array list of student, and obviously it will be only one, so list equals to std store dot get student list, and then using the for each loop I can simply print it, right. So student s or this list, on this list will try to print this student. And just let me create the toString method just so that we can simply print that out. So here we will simply print s. Okay, and if I run it everything will work fine. So if I see student added and student name, this is what I am getting, right. and if I add one more student, this will work perfectly fine. So this S2, this S2, this is S2, and I'll make it as a maybe Amica S2. And now if I run it, of course it will what is the problem? Oh, sorry, I haven't added that. Okay, right. And so Divakar and Amika has been added, and it is showing that perfectly fine. Now there will be a big problem here is I can create one more student store. I can again create one student store one, something like this. Okay, and I can store this store one dot add, and I can add another user again. So I can simply suppose I need to add. So I'll write something like S3, and this one will be just me, and yeah, let it be roll number as 5, and let it be S3, let it be S3, and I can add this S3 to here. Okay, now the problem is here is we have two stores, but I wanted, see, I want always only one store, right? Now the problem would be something like I need to maintain this particular student store somewhere that is containing the add user, the list of user, it has only one. So if I print out here, so the problem would be something like, so if I get it this again here for S3, so the problem would be, so list one I'll just make it, and student store from student store one, and it will print from this particular thing. So both are printing their own one, right? So as you can see here, this guy is printing their own value, this guy is printing their own values. But is this necessary, right? It's not necessary. What I want is I want only one object of student store. I don't want that user can create another store, because the number of students I can add, this S3, right? This S3 I could have added easily into this particular thing. So if I just simply don't create another if I don't create this particular thing here, and this student added store, I would have written here, and so a student store dot, I should have added like this instead of creating the another store and doing like that, right? So yeah, this is how it should be. Like it can take infinite number of a student inside that. Then what is the necessary of creating the another instance of student store? But you cannot restrict user. Now if some bad programmer comes in and and they will create one another student store, and they will put in the data, and they will be thinking that all my students object in that only, but some other user is creating one more instances and they are putting into that one, right? So that creates the problem for you. What actually you want is nobody can create the object like this, nobody can use the new instance here. So what is the thing what you can do here in student store? You do something like, I am telling you the singleton design pattern. So you do something like you make the constructor of student store as private. So once you create the private constructor student store, you will see that it started giving you error that you cannot create the new here, because once you do the new this, actually it is trying to call this particular method, the student store method, and as this is the private, you cannot call this particular thing, so you cannot instantiate, you cannot create the object of this. Now there will be a big problem, right? How to get the object of that, right? So how to make sure that you create only one object and every time people can get only the same object? So what you are going to do is you do something like a private static and student store object, right, like that, equal to null. So first define like this, and then you write something like a public student store get instance, okay, get the object, okay, and you make it as a static also, this also static, and here you check something like this. I'll just explain you just a second. You say, okay, if instance object equals to null, If it is null, then what you do is return, sorry, if that is null, you create an object of this particular thing here. So you create the object of, you can create the object in the same class, you cannot create the outside the class. So you have created the student object and you return this particular thing. So you put into this, sorry, you write, put into this, not okay, and then return this particular student object. If it is not null, okay, if it has been already created, else return student object. Now what actually happening here is you are forcing the user to get only the same instance every time. What actually I'm doing is I have made the constructor private. That means nobody can create the object of this particular class outside this class. That is okay. Then how to get the object? So what I did, I have created one student object like the student store object equals to null. I made it null by default, and whenever they want to get the object, they need to call that get instance, get the object. And in that object, what I'm doing is I'm checking whether it's null. The first time it will be null, so it will create the object and then it will send that particular object. So first time you have got the instance of a student store object. Now next time, if some user, again they cannot do all these things, right? They cannot create by using new, so they will again call the instance, and once they call the instance, it will check that okay, is the student object is null. It will show no, it is not null because last time we had created and it's still there. So it will return the whatever the last time it has been created. So every time it will return you the same object only. So here instead of that, you can say student store dot get instance, and that's it. So if you try to run this, you will see that this is what happening here. And if you just to check, verify that it's working fine, what I will do is I'll create another object. I'll try to get into a store one, student dot get store one, and if I try to print it using that, and just let me iterate all these things from here, and let me just add one more object also here. So in the new one, I'm just showing you that it's the same object, okay? So another object, I'll just writing like that, and I've got this student store one, and I'm creating a student four, and I'll put as a pratik, okay, and I'll store in one and add user as 4, and list I'll take in a student list 1. I'll print 1. Now what do you think it should print? The last one, right? So see here, object I'm taking a student store 1 and putting the user into store 1. List is getting from store 1 only, and that was the stored, right? So both the objects are different, but it will not be different. If you see that the console, the another object after printing that student added, and it is printing all these 4 objects. So that means it has worked on the same instance to the previous one, because 3 students I am adding into the store object, right? std store. But here if you see the 4th student what I've created, I'm adding into the std4, but still if I'm printing into it, it'll printing all the objects because it has been added to the same instance. So that means this get instance is working, and it is always sending the same object, and nobody can do something like a student store equal to new student store. So this is one type of design pattern. We call it a singleton design pattern, and it is used for the getting MySQL connections where you need only one SQL connections, so that other user cannot create multiple connections to it. Sometimes you need just like that, to create a store where you don't want other user to create the instance of that. If you see the calendar API in Java, right? The calendar API in Java, calendar cal equals to calendar dot get instance. So you cannot create the object of calendar if you want to print the date of today's, right? So dot get time. So if you do that, dot to string. So you don't have to create, you cannot create the object, and as you can see Tuesday October, this particular date it is showing you. So in calendar dot get instance, you cannot do calendar cal equals to need calendar, because it's a singleton design pattern. If you go there in calendar, you will see that the constructor of this particular calendar will be private. So just let me show you. So yeah, so as you can see, a set instance is there, but yeah, get instance also should be there somewhere. 5 cal, let me write private. Yeah, as you can see here, right, get instance, and I just wanted to show that the constructor is private. I don't know, they have written so big code. uh, okay, they might have, I don't know, they might have written some other APIs. Okay, anyways, this is how actually it is done. I don't know where I have to find out. It should be there somewhere. Okay, yeah, it must be present. So I hope you guys understood what actually it means, how to create and in what scenarios you need to create, right? If I keep creating the new student store, right, that will create a problem, and we won't be able to keep track of how many objects we are storing into it, right? So your store should be single. Inside that you can put into the as number of objects as you want. Everyone slept? Is it boring or what?
No.
Okay, great. I know it's too much. There are too many things to learn. From past 5 years, 6 years, I'm learning things. Still, I have barely scratched the surface of Java till now. But yeah, there are too many things to learn. It's very vast. There are too much opportunities in Java, I would say. I'm not boasting about myself, but I keep getting calls from very big companies like Yahoo, Oracle, Cisco, and all these things for these knowledges. Like if you have strong knowledge in design pattern, if you are very good in data structures like this linked list and all these things, right? If you are very good with collections APIs, you are very good with multi-threading, right? You have ample opportunities. Two of my friends has already been to Microsoft by cracking just a few months back. So you will get ample opportunities in these if you learn properly. See, I think there are 10 million people who know Java, but I hardly understand that who actually know how to write a proper code. There are many books which has been written on how to write code in Java. Effective Java. There are books. If you, I mean, I don't know whether you guys might be knowing effective Java. There is a book how to write code in Java. On that they have written a book, and it's a very famous book on how to write code. So it's so vast. I mean, to write a single code also there are rules you need to follow, and there are many other things. So I will suggest you a few books if you want to head first. Java is a very good book. This fellow, wearing this specs, right? This is very good book. Even if you want to learn about this design pattern, what I just explained you, one design pattern, that singleton, it keeps on other types of factory design pattern, observer, and I would say it's really very interesting to learn design pattern. And it is not coupled with, it's not specific to some programming language. You can use design pattern in C language, C++, anywhere you can use it. Okay, so Java, for Java, I think it's a head for Java is very good book. And if you really want to learn in very depth core Java, SCJP by Kathy Serra. This is what I had studied 4 5 years back when I did my certification in Java. This is for certification, but this book is really very good if you really want to understand. Okay, if you want to clear your concept. what I have covered is just the practical approach, just to get it might help you in getting job, but for your understanding, for your knowledge, I think if you study books, I think that will help you much. Okay, I think I am done. I spoke too much for past 1.5 months. You guys spoke very very little. I don't know why. So tomorrow I'll keep just like these topics or something, like if I come to some other new things or something. But officially the session wise it's completed today. Okay, if you have any questions you can ask, or it's already very late for me today, so I'll go to sleep. Any question, Pratik?
Thank you. No question. Thank you.
No question. Okay, so was it worth to attend this session?
Yes.
Okay, great.
Yes.
Yeah, I'll upload all the videos. It's already uploaded. There are few is left. Sweta, I will take one session. I am not getting time. I'm too much occupied with many work. I'll have one session. I have already committed to that. So I'll definitely take sessions on collections. Okay. So I'll take out some time, and I'll definitely give maybe this Saturday Sunday. Okay. So actually
Okay.
I'm also planning to come to USA in meantime, maybe next to next month. So I'm bit stuck with all my work, what I have to do there, what I have to do here, I don't know. So there are too many things what I am covering these days, official works and these things and other things. So I'm a little bit occupied. I'll upload all these videos, all these codes are there. I am available anytime. You can send me. I really love to solve problems what you guys will be facing. So I will be definitely, I will be happy to help that. Okay. Amika Agency, any questions? I never heard your voice. Very rarely I have heard. So I don't know. Any question? Okay. Okay.
No, sir.
Yeah, fine then. Tomorrow we'll have just like a normal other topics. I would just suggest you a few things what you need to study, for maybe for interviews, or maybe for your advancement, or how you can enhance your knowledge in these area. What are the other topics, important topics I have left? Maybe I think string, there are a few things I would like to tell. And about hash map implementation, I just want to know, I just want to tell you how actually it works. It's really very interesting things. I'll just kind of random sessions it will be. Okay, half an hour, 1 hour or something max. And then I have to schedule one mock interview. I don't know why they have asked me to do. I really don't like doing all this stuff. But if you guys are okay with that, I'll definitely tell. Other, I simply tell them, okay, I've taken and these are the so and so feedback, if you guys agree with that. Okay, so maybe we will tomorrow discuss about that. Okay, fine, see you tomorrow then. Fine.
Yeah.
Yeah, fine. Okay, bye bye.